So anyway, let me start. So this is the gospel of the woman who carried too much too long. The one you ignored until her silence cracked and her hands caught fire. This is not burnout. This is not exhaustion. This is rage. Not petty rage, not hormonal rage, not overreacting rage, but sacred, righteous, ancestral rage. The kind that is earned, the kind that shakes generations loose, the kind that doesn't burn the village because that's not what a woman does. She doesn't destroy, she doesn't annihilate, she disrupts. But why now? Why this turn in tone? Because for so long, I've focused on healing, resilience, softness, and hope. I've preached integration, balance, and compassion. And all of those are still true, but they are only half of the story. And the other half is anger. And for too long, I've bypassed it. We all have. Because women have been taught to fear their rage, that it's dangerous, that it's destructive, that it makes us like them. But this is not their rage. This is not rage that abuses or dominates, or in this case, kills. This is the rage of being heard but not listened to. This is the rage that comes when you do the work, rise higher, love harder, and they stay the same. This is the rage that transforms. Now, at the time, it started as it always does. I was polite, I was clear, I was helpful, and I was ignored. Then one day, one small thing too many lands in my inbox or on my shoulders, and I snap. Not outward or immediately, but deep inside, something breaks and it never goes back the way it was. You see the look on my face, and suddenly you're listening, but it's too late. You don't get to ignore the whisper, disregard the request, and only respond to the rage. You don't get to hear me now and think you're entitled to stay. This is the rage I feel standing in the pantry, looking at the Tupperware haphazardly stacked where once I had nested them like Russian dolls. That small moment, seemingly unimportant, becomes the spark. Because I have done too much already to now have to turn around and find what I tried to maintain completely destroyed. It creeps up slowly, but like a rolling stone, it builds momentum until it escapes like a blood-curdling scream of absolute rage. Rage that I have been disrespected time and time again, ignored until I feel invisible. I scream to no one and everyone in the empty house. Everyone but the dogs who are already hidden from my wrath. It was the rage at the cardboard box I ripped apart with my bare hands because it was better than lashing out physically at someone. Speaking over my need for space and distance, despite the headphones I wore specifically to be left alone. It's the rage I feel as I write this, because I'm done hearing how hard everyone else has it while the help I asked for went unnoticed, unanswered, and unvalued. But this isn't just about me. This is the pattern we see everywhere. It's in the woman who's been asking her husband for 10 years to help carry the emotional labor. Then when she finally files for divorce, he starts going to therapy and starts showing up. But she's already gone. It's too late. It's in the woman who shows up to work early, stays late, overperforms without recognition, and then one day stops. She does exactly what she's paid to do and no more. Then suddenly people notice. Why aren't things getting done? Why isn't she available? What changed? They were always capable. They just didn't care until they were left carrying the load. It's in the mother who saves a snack for herself and doesn't share, not out of cruelty, but because she realizes she's a person, not just a mother, and she's allowed to want something for her, just for her, without feeling shame or guilt. And I'm going to update this part too, because it's also the anger, the collective anger that we're all feeling as we stand and watch what's happening in Minneapolis right now. And it's why we take to the streets. It's why we protest. It's why they have built a wall out of trash cans, because we have asked and asked and asked for Border Patrol agents and for ICE to leave, to get out. And we were ignored until now. This is about boundaries. This is about not explaining them anymore. And it's about the moment when she stops fixing, stops performing, and stops asking. The issue is that we've been taught that our anger is dangerous, that it makes us unlikable, that it means we've lost control. Because, and I'm going to say this much, sorry guys, because when men get angry, they get results. When women get angry, they get dismissed. Oh, she must be hormonal. Are you on your period? God, why are you so emotional? We are told to calm down, to lighten up, to be kind, or to fix it. And when we finally explode after putting down countless nets of grace, we're suddenly the villain. They don't remember the warnings. They don't remember the pleas. They only remember the moment we stopped being nice. And worse, they expect us to clean it up. They want us to feel bad for the damage. They want us to make them feel better. And I'm saying this especially now. No, not anymore. Our rage is not random. And especially for us women, it has a lineage. It has evidence, clear evidence, especially now. Can't deny the multiple video angles. It is the conclusion drawn from every time we were expected to give more than we got. Every time we were expected to be the bigger person while someone else got to stay small. Every time they waited for us to snap so they could call us crazy, but never acknowledged that they were holding the gun. This rage is not reckless. It's an archetype. Personally, I like to think of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, because I'm a geek. She wasn't just angry, she was transformed. She walked into that apartment, torn and tattered, said, "Honey, I'm home. Oh, I forgot. I'm not married." And heard her own loneliness played back to her on a loop. That was her cracking point. From that breaking came power. She didn't go out to cause chaos for chaos's sake. She defended the vulnerable, and most importantly, she taught the vulnerable how to defend themselves. She didn't swoop in to save them like a hero. She showed them that they were strong enough to save themselves, that they didn't need a man, a savior, or permission. They could do it themselves while wearing heels and skin-tight leather. She didn't need saving. She became the consequence. I see it too in Harley Quinn, especially in Birds of Prey, when she's no longer tethered to the Joker or filtered through the male gaze. Her rage becomes a reclamation of her own narrative, her own pleasure, and her own chaos on her own terms. The sisterhood of that film, each woman awakening to her own power, mirrors the awakening we feel in ourselves. But not everyone sees themselves as comic books, so let's stretch further. There's Medusa. In some tellings, she had already been through enough Assaulted in the temple of a goddess she served faithfully, blamed not just by society, but by the gods themselves. Turned into a monster not because she was evil, but because she was beautiful, because her beauty had been a threat. Yet in that monstrous form, she finally found her power. She was given a cave for reprieve, a place to be alone. I lost my place. Men were warned, do not enter, do not look, do not take from her again. But they did, and her gaze turned them to stone, not out of survival, but as a consequence. Her story is not one of victimhood. It is one of divine boundary setting. There's Kali, the goddess so often misunderstood. People fear her because they see the blood, the fire, and the destruction, but they forget she destroys what needs to be burned. She clears the illusions that keep us bound. From her ashes, new life arises. Her rage is nature's rage. Her dance is liberation. Her presence is reckoning. There is Audre Lorde, who reminds us that our anger is not only valid, but vital. And this is a quote from her. Every woman has a well-stocked arsenal of anger potentially useful against those oppressions, personal and institutional, which brought that anger into being. Focused with precision, it can become a powerful source of energy serving progress and change. Her words dismantle the shame of female anger and reconstruct it as a fuel for transformation. We can turn to music, to the voices of feminine rage and song, raw, powerful, and deeply ancestral. The song of generations of women to the voices of women who sing what many of us cannot say. From Bjork's Elemental Keening in Pluto, where she screams, "Excuse me, but I just have to explode. Explode this body off me." A howl of complete shedding and transformation. To Nina Simone's searing protest in Mississippi, "Goddamn. You don't have to live next to me. Just give me equality." A line delivered with unwavering clarity, shaking both conscience and complacency. Next is Fiona Apple's simmering self-liberation in Fetch the Bolt Cutters, where she declares, "I've been in here too long," breaking free from invisible chains with a whisper turned command. Alanis Morissette, whose raw delivery in You Oughta Know hurls the truth like a thunderclap. "And I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away," giving voice to every woman who swallowed pain while smiling through gritted teeth. Those aren't just songs. They're battle cries. They're prayers. They're refusals to be quieted. They're not stories of ruin. They're stories of rebirth. You may not wear leather. You may not carry a sword, but your rage is also an archetype. So, let her in. Let her rise. Let her show you what you've been too afraid to name, and then become her. This is what happens when we stop centering everyone else. This is what happens when we realize we can walk away from one-sided marriages, leave behind draining friendships, say no to the boss who's kept piling on, and say no to our cities, our neighborhoods being occupied by federal forces. And we can hold on to that without guilt. It's not cruelty or selfishness, but reclamation. When they ask what changed, why the silence, why the exit, why the roar, why the protesting, we will not be the ones to explain. Let them sit with the echo. We will be too busy building the world that should have always existed. A world where women do not have to break in order to be believed, where people do not have to be murdered in the streets before they are to be believed about what we have been saying about this administration for years. We'll be too busy building the world that should have existed. So this is the gospel of feminine rage, and it's not a warning, it's a beginning. We've felt it, we're feeling it now. We've named it, and now it's time to alchemize it. And so I want to invite you to do a few things this week. If you haven't yet, check out my Substack. I do have a current Substack, and I'm writing next week's Substack. So current Substack is on the dialect of language, where I talk from some of my own personal experience. I also link my blog there, where I talk about the dialects of emotional language more deeply. I definitely invite you to check out my blog. So it's just my name, Natasha Durand-Moulton, without the hyphen.com. I also, want to invite you to, if you're feeling angry like I am, find ways to get it out. Again, my blog kind of gives you some ideas, the dialects of emotions, emotional language, being either through sound, through visuals like arts, or somatically through body, getting our body out there and moving. So get out there, make a playlist, make some art, go to a protest, find your feminine rage role models, singers, authors, ancestors, activists, whoever has embodied righteous anger in a way that's made you feel seen. So who told you the truth when no one else would? And then reflect and reclaim it. For each of those things that you do, kind of ask yourself, what you're feeling inside. Become aware of what you're feeling inside. And I just want you to know, too, again, that you're not alone. A lot of us are feeling the anger. Some of us are losing sleep over the anger, but you are not alone. And so this is going to be a short live, but I wanted to share that with you just because, again, I got to digging through some of my older work. And I wrote a lot of that in August of all times. But if you're standing in the pantry looking at what was once well organized and now has turned into chaos, and that's the straw that finally broke the camel's back, just know that you're not alone. A lot of us are feeling that way. A lot of us are getting angry at even the smallest things because we have so many big things that are just making us absolutely livid right now. So thank you for joining me. I got 4 viewers. It's a lot more than I thought I was going to get. If you haven't followed me yet, please do so. Hit that like button, share button, follow button, all the buttons. Go over and check out some of my previous work. If you haven't checked out my blog, go check that out. Again, it's just my name, Natasha Durand-Moulton, no hyphen.com. I also have it linked in through most of my work, and I think I even have it linked into my bio, so it's pretty easy to find. But thank you all for joining me. Hopefully you will get out, get with your community, get that anger, get that frustration out. Don't let it sit, don't let it fester. You are not alone in this.